up because I'm guilty of saying yes just because he's ugly, but then needing a bailout because it's entertaining.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NBC Game of the Week Season Ticket Baseball. Today in the 1978 world is May 27th, and that's what we'll be using as we are at Fenway Park in Boston between the Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox. Louis Tiant on the mound for the Sox, and Dave Rozema is on the mound for the Detroit Tigers. Hello, Kenyon. Hello, Brian B. Good to see you. Not sure why this thing is looking like it's tilted, but for whatever reason it is. But I got everything fitting in camera, or on the webcam, so I don't want to move anything because I'm afraid I'll lose what I have. So I'll stick with what I got. Let's look at our starting lineup. You see the starting pitchers, you see the benches and the bullpens for both teams. Both teams have 4 relief pitchers and 6 on the bench. Look at our starting lineups. First for the Tigers, it'll be LaFleur in center, Whitaker at second, Staub the DH, Thompson at first, Kemp in left, May catching, Corcoran in right, Mankowski at third, and Trammell the shortstop. For Boston, Rick Burleson's in short, Jerry Remy's at second, Rice is in left. Carl Yastrzemski's playing center field today in place of Fred Lynn. So Carl Yastrzemski, I've got a little ding here, because that tells me I've got to go to the ratings-based defense for Yastrzemski, because center field is not his main priority. So if we get a center fielder check on Yastrzemski, we will be using this ratings-based defensive card. Rest of the lineup's pretty standard. Fisk catching, Hobson at third, Brohammer the DH, Dewey Evans in right, and at first base, instead of George Scott, we got Fred Kendall, but Fred Kendall is listed. First base is his primary position, so we don't need a secondary card for him. But 2 key Boston players are on the bench in this game, Fred Lynn and George Scott. Don't know if just because it's a day game after a night game or what the story is as to why they are on the bench, but they are. So, all right, so Phoenix, good to see you. I'm glad you are here so that when I need some coaching, I will have somebody here. Don't know if Clay will make it or not. He has made it to the past previous games, but also another resource to go to as well. Let's look at Fenway Park, because it starts with the stadium to see if there's any adjustments. Remember, I'm not doing rain, I'm not doing wind, just doing temperature. So the temperature, it's a day game in May, so the average base temperature is 53. And pretty much there's no way in the world we're going to get to 83, I don't believe, but we'll roll it anyway just for general purpose. We get a total of 16. That takes it up to a 70-degree day, which is still well within the range of no effect. So there will not be any changes on the deep drives here at Fenway. They will stay as is because the temperature is pretty much average, or close enough to average, I guess you could say. All right, so leading off for the Tigers will be center fielder Ron LaFleur. And if these things here are a nuisance or an annoyance, I can remove them and bring them in when they're called for. In fact, it might be the best thing to do. I don't know, but right now I'll leave them there. Hopefully not too much of a distraction, but I do want to give people information, because information is power. And if you know who's on the bench and who's on the bullpen, you can kind of coach along, as they say. All right, so Louis Tiant will be facing Ronnie LaFleur. And the NBC Game of the Week from May the 27th is now underway. Next Saturday, by the way, will be in June. It'll be the June 3rd game. We'll be back to the National League. It'll be a rematch, or maybe a preview of what the real 78 NLCS was, as the Dodgers will take on the Phillies from Veterans Stadium. Don Sutton against Larry Christensen. That will be next Saturday. Hello, Thomas. Good to see you. So the first play is a 5. Well, look at that. We get a fielding check on the very first play, but it's not a good one because it's a 7. Tiant on a 5-17 is going to be a single. So how about that? Leadoff single for Ron LaFleur right off the bat. Hold rating on Tiant is a 6. LaFleur steal is a 6. So pretty good chance he can get the lead here. We're certainly going to go for it. Don't see any reason not to go for it. So we're going to take these two D10s. And since they're the same, 6 and 6, we pretty much just have to have both D10s equal 10 or higher to get the lead. And they do. That's a total of 12. So we got 12 plus the 6 is an 18, and that tops the 16. So he does get the lead. So now he's going to try to steal. And the 6, again, is his speed rating. Look at the catcher arm. That's Carlton Fisk. And Fisk arm is a 5. So we get a 6 steal and a 5 arm. So the 5 arm means we need a 15. You got to beat a 15 or tie a 15. So these 3 dice have to combine with the 6 have to be total greater than or equal to 15. So basically these 3 dice need to total 9 or higher. That is definitely a 9 or higher. So he's going to get a stolen base here. So LaFleur is going to steal second. Let's move these out of the way because I think they're going to be cumbersome here. So I'll bring them in when they're needed. But LaFleur will steal second base. All right, the pickoff rating, I got to be aware of this. So what triggers the pickoff, I guess is my question. It's probably on this chart somewhere. Oh, wait a minute. Pickoffs when rolling to establish a lead or steal. Runners picked off at both 10-sided die or below the pitcher's pickoff rating. Okay. Well, they can't be below it because his pickoff rating's a 1. So apparently he didn't pick anybody off because it can't be lower than 1. All right, so a stolen base for LaFleur. And the Tigers are in business early against Louis Tiant. Hello, Chuck. Good to see you. Tiant 343, and that's non-split chances. 343, though, is an infield single for Lou Whitaker. So how about that? Runners now on the corners. Early on here at Fenway, runners are on the corners with nobody out. Infield will play for the double play, as they will trade a run to get 2 outs. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. The 10s count as zeros. So you are correct. You are correct. So if we roll like a double 0 or something, that's a possible pickoff. All right, got you. All right, here's Rusty Staub, the DH. 389, and 389 is a 6-3 double play. So it's what they wanted. They will trade the run to get the 2 outs. 389 is a 6-3 double play. Burleson fields it, steps on the bag himself. So it's 6 unassisted, 6-3 double play. Scoring is LaFleur. Of course, no RBI given. But the Tigers do lead it 1-0, but now the bases are clear. That will bring up Jason Thompson. 198, and that's a foul out to third or pop up to third, whatever you want to look at it. Doesn't really matter. It's an out. That's all that matters. But the Tigers get a run. And at the end of half an inning to play, it's Detroit 1 and the Red Sox coming to bat. Hello, Jimmy Jam. Good to see you. Dave Rozema going to get his warm-up tosses in. And Rick Burleson, who just made that double play, will lead things off. Rozema 9-12 with a 3.14 ERA on the 78 season. That's a 5.44. Second baseman Lou Whitaker will check his defense for a 5.44. 5.44 is a 4.63 double play, but nobody's on, so it's just a 4.3 ground out. Easy play for Lou Whitaker. He's up to the task very easily. And there's one away for Jerry Remy, longtime Red Sox broadcaster in his retirement before he unfortunately passed away. 487. And that's on a split chance against a righty. 487 is a deep fly to center field for out number 2. So 2 down, and that brings up Jim Rice. That's a good point, Brian, but I'm going to leave it up to the discretion of the scorer at home to put it in how they wish. The putout goes to the third baseman, so whether it's foul or fair, they still get the proper putout. So it really, in essence, turns out to be the same. 147, and that's going to be a fly to left field, and that's going to end the inning. So 3 up and 3 down. 1-2-3 inning for Rozema. Red Sox go quietly, and we go to the second. 1-0 Tigers. Only bad part about this matchup is both cards, the coloring is identical, pretty much. Too bad the Red Sox aren't a little bit more reddish, but I guess primarily they're navy and they have red trim. So, but that's just the way it is. Would that be Mr. LaFleur, Jimmy Jam? 1 for Montreal and 1 for Detroit? My guess, anyway. All right. And Brian B. got it as well. All right, here's Steve Kemp. That's a 603. And a 603 is a 4-6-3 double play, but in this case, nobody on, so it's just a 6-3 ground out as Burleson handles it. 1 away. For Milt May, the catcher. 426. Split against right-handers. 426 is another 4-6-3 double play, but in this case, Remy just throws it to first for out number 2. And that'll bring up Corcoran, the right fielder. 660. 660 for Corcoran. 660 is a 1-3 ground out, so he grounds it right to Louis Tiant for a 1-2-3 inning. Nothing going on here for the Tigers. Go to the bottom of the second, still 1-0. Favor of the Bengal Tigers. Rozema back out will face Carl Yastrzemski, normally a left fielder, sometimes first baseman, but in this rare case is playing center field. So if he comes up as a center fielder defensive check, we will be using the alternate ratings on this row right here, if it gets to that. 318 non-split. That's going to be a deep fly to left field, right in front of the green monster. The catch is made by Steve Kemp, and there's 1 away. Here's Pudge, the original Pudge, Carlton Fisk. 558. Third baseman Mankowski, but the 8 doesn't look good. 558 is going to be a single past him into left field. So base hit for Carlton Fisk as he sneaks it right past Mankowski for a 1-out single. Fisk really no threat to steal. He did steal 7 bases. He got caught twice, but when you're in Fenway, you kind of don't want to run yourself out of innings. You want to go for the gusto. Here's Butch Hobson, 322, and that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 1 for Rozema, first strikeout of the game for either pitcher. And it brings up the designated hitter, Jack Brohammer. Kind of a weak designated hitter, but like I said, they're giving Fred Lynn and George Scott the game off. 447, that's on the split chance. 447 is a 3-6 fielder's choice, but with nobody on. As the third out, I'm just going to call it a 3 unassisted. Normally, the first baseman would not throw it to second like that. So we're just going to say 3 unassisted and end the inning right there. But you can score it how you wish. At the end of 2, it's still 1-0 favor of the Tigers. So Phil Mankowski will lead off for the Detroit Tigers, followed by Alan Trammell and then Ron LaFleur. That's a 162 non-split. 162 is a fly to left. Hauled in out there by the left fielder Rice. 1 down for Alan Trammell. 403. And that's going to be a one-out walk to Alan Trammell. Trammell will draw the base on balls. Not much of a threat to steal. Stole 3 bases, got caught once. So they will hold him right there. And here is LaFleur. 632 for LaFleur. 632 is a fly to center field. And that is out number 2. Hauled in by the center fielder, Yastrzemski. 2 down for Lou Whitaker. That is a 579. That's not good. That blue 9 is awful ominous. So we look at Jim Rice in left field. 579 is a single. If there's a runner on second, they could challenge, but the runner's not on second. So it's just going to be a base hit. And runners will be at first and second with 2 outs. So Rice unable to get to that. And really on a blue 9, I don't think anybody's going to get to that. So we're down to Rusty Staub. Took the ring light off. Looked like it might have been a little bit too bright on there. So I'm going to dim the light just a hair to see if that makes it not as much glare. So hopefully that's better. We shall see. On my computer, it looks better, but I can't really tell what you guys are seeing maybe quite as much. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully it's better. Here's Rusty Staub. He hit into a double play his first time up. 678. Boy, they're hitting those 600s, aren't they? 678. That's a single plus plus, so that means everybody moves up of 2 bases, and that means a run's going to score. RBI single from Rusty Staub. And Whitaker will take third on the hit. RBI single from Staub. It's 2-0 Tigers. Tiant trying to get out of the inning. 236. Split chance against a lefty. 236 is a deep fly to center, and that's going to end the inning. So we end of 2.5. It is Detroit 2 and Boston 0. Dewey Evans will lead off for Boston against Rozema. It'll be Evans, Kendall, and Burleson due up for Boston. That's a 154, and that's going to be a 3 unassisted ground out right to Jason Thompson. And Evans is dispatched very easily. Here's Fred Kendall. We talk about a drop-off. You got Fred Kendall hitting a $195, and you got George Scott sitting there on the bench. But we'll see what happens. 156, it's the same roll, 3 unassisted. So right to Jason Thompson. And that time it was on the pitcher card, so it didn't matter who the batter was. Here's Rick Burleson. 674, but the home team's batting makes it 684. And a 684 is going to be a single. That'll be a single for Rick Burleson. 2-out single, but a single nonetheless for Rick Burleson. Could he get a jump is the question. But the hold rating's at 8. That's going to be awful tough to get a jump. With the hold rating of 8, his steal rating's a 5. They can still try it. We're still going to try it. So Burleson's a 5, but the hold is an 8. So it's got to be equal to or greater than 18. So these 2 dice have to total 13 or higher to get the successful lead. And they do. 17, he will get the lead. So he's going to go. So his steal rating, his speed rating's a 2. And the catcher arm, in this case, Milt May, his arm is a 5. So we got a 5 and a 2 to work with. So we need to equal 15 or better. So these 3 dice have to equal 13 or more to be safe. And they do. So it will be a stolen base. How about that? Rick Burleson gets into scoring position with a stolen base. And that'll bring up Jerry Remy. There are 2 outs. Clutch situation for Remy. 229 left-hander split chance is just a pop up to third or a foul out to third, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to end the inning. So they get a runner to second, but can't do anything with it. At the end of 3, it is Detroit 2 and Boston nothing. So maybe the karma of Chuck and Tabby are giving the Tigers the momentum they need to keep it going and get a win on the road here at Fenway. Steve Kemp will lead things off. That's a 322, and that will be a strikeout. First strikeout of the game for Tiant. Very unusual. It took him that long to get a strikeout, but it did. Dimmed it one more time. If that's too dark, let me know. I was just trying to avoid the glare. That might be too dark. I might need to pick this up a little bit. Maybe I'll use the ring light to compensate. That might be a better option right there. All right, here's Milt May. That's a 319, and that's going to be a fly to center field for out number 2. 2 down for Tim Corcoran. Corcoran. Hello, Triple G. 668, another 600 for Detroit. 668 is a bloop single. So Corcoran, a 2-out bloop single. He's at first base. Not really a threat to steal. Stole 3 bases, got caught twice. So with 2 outs, they're going to just hang him there and let Mankowski swing away. 254. Mankowski's a lefty hitter, so on Tiant, 254 is a deep drive to right field. Mankowski's power is a 4, so we're looking right here. We're going to add the 2 dice and add it to 4 and see what comes up. We get a 7. It's a total of 11. 11 is going to be a double to right field. Now, I'm assuming we can challenge the outfielder because it was declared to go to right field. So I'm assuming we could challenge, but the right fielder is Dwight Evans after all. So Dwight Evans' arm rating is a 6 in right field. So no challenge, you're saying? We can't challenge? Okay, we can't challenge, then we won't challenge. Okay. I guess you have to have that question mark to challenge, huh? Has to have a question mark beside it to challenge. I guess that's the technical rule on that. So runners at second and third with 2 outs. And Alan Trammell, the batter. Base hit could provide 2 more runs. Okay, thank you, Phoenix. You got to have either the question mark or you got to have some kind of punctuation at the end. That's what it is. If it just says to be to a position, you can't challenge. You have to have either the question mark or the question mark and exclamation point to challenge. Thank you very much. Tiant, 219. Trammell's a righty, so 219 is a strikeout. Would have walked a lefty, but he strikes out the righty, and that's going to end the inning. And Tigers leave 2 on in scoring position. And we go to the bottom of the 4th, still 2-0 Detroit. And Rozema is going to be your batter. Right, just the exclamation point. He's automatically out, no questions asked. Rozema, 621. Home team is batting, though, makes it 631. That's still going to be a fly to center, so it didn't really help anything there being the home team. Didn't give him enough boost. Rice will fly to center, and here's Yaz. 384 and non-split chances. 384 is a 3 to 6 to 1 double play. We're just going to call it a 3 to 1 ground out. I'll say you need to flip to first baseman Thompson covering to get the out. Here's Pudge. 655 turns to a 665, and that's going to be a hit by pitch. He hits Pudge. So Pudge gets plunked. Not happy about it, but he got plunked. And that will take it over to Butch Hobson. $5.65. That's the shortstop Trammell. The blue 5 should be good enough, though. And it is. $5.65 is just a 6-3 ground out. And that's the third out of the inning, so it doesn't matter where the throw goes. The inning is over. And at the end of 4, it's still 2-0 Tigers. Maybe a bit of surprise to some people watching that the Tigers are winning this game. I don't know who won the game real world. Didn't look it up. But just by names and everything, you would think. But again, Boston's playing 2 of their better players on the bench in Scott and Fred Lynn. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. Here's LaFleur, 449 against a right-hander. That's going to be a double no matter who he faces. So Ron LaFleur, a leadoff double. To start the 5th, he is singled and doubled now. Tiant in trouble. Here's Whitaker. That's a 429. Whitaker against a right-hander on a 429 is a 4-3 ground out, so the runner on second will take third. So Whitaker gets the job done and moves the runner over. Just the little things can be very important. Now the infield is going to come in for the Red Sox against Rusty Staub. They kind of have to come in. They don't want to give up any more runs. That's a 183, and that's a walk. So now you set up a double play, perhaps. So now the infield can turn to a double play depth, and Jason Thompson is your batter. Runner infield is back for the double play. 118, that's going to switch to a 318, and a 318 is a strikeout. So that's out number 2. Third strikeout for Tiant. And now 2 outs, infield back to normal for Steve Kemp. Kemp is 0 for 2. He grounded to short and struck out. 562 should be an easy play for Burleson with that blue 2. And the blue 2 would have been a double play, but nobody's on base. It is just simply going to be a 6-4 fielder's choice to end the inning, and the Tigers are retired here in the 5th. So we go to the bottom of the 5th, still Detroit 2 and Boston nothing from Fenway. Hello, Mr. Robert. I'm glad you are tuning in from your place of employment. Here's Jack Brohammer. He will lead things off. 432 against a right-hander Rozema. 432 with a 4-3 ground out. So Rozema pitching very well against the Red Sox. Here's Dewey Evans. Evans grounded out to Thompson his first time up. 168, and that's going to be a pop-up to third, foul out to third, what I'm going to call it. I really, at this point, I'm not that anal about it. I'll do either way because the end result's the same. Here's Kendall. 247, and against a righty, 247 is a 6-3 ground out. So easy 1-2-3 inning for Rozema. He has tossed 5 shutout innings at the Red Sox. We go to the top of the 6th, and it is still 2-0 Boston. Milt May, the catcher, will lead off against Louis Tiant. .395, and that's going to be right down here for a base hit for Milt May. Leadoff single for Milt May. He's definitely not a threat to steal. Don't have to worry about that. Here's Corcoran. 325, and that's going to be an infield single. So how about that? Well, these little Nixon cuts by the Tigers starting to add up. First and second, nobody out for Phil Mankowski. Tiant can use a double play right about now. 174. It's going to be a fly to left. That's out number 1. And that brings up Trammell. 244 against a right-hander. 244 is a fly to right. Boy, against a lefty, that would have been a deep drive, but here it's a fly to right. And that's out number 2. And it's all going to be all up now to Ron LaFleur, top of the order. LaFleur has singled and doubled and stolen a base and scored a run, so he's been active. 2 outs now. Tiant trying to get around LaFleur and get out of the inning. 651. 651, he does it. 651's a 6-4 ground out. So it'll be a fielder's choice 6-4 to end the inning. And Tiant gets out of the mess. So we go to the bottom of the 6th, still 2-0 Tigers. And Rozema carrying the shutout through 5. You'll be facing top of the order, Burleson, Remy, and Rice. .572 should be very easy for the left fielder, Kemp. .572 is a fly to left. One away. The door opened. I thought it was Tabby chiming in, but I think it's just we got a really good refreshing breeze. So I got all the windows open, and that may have pushed that door open slightly. Here's Remy. 193, and that is going to be a bloop single for Jerry Remy. Tying run now comes to the plate in Jim Rice. I'll tell you what, you're not going to run Remy when you got Rice coming up. You don't want to take the bat out of Rice's hands. That's a 5-16. Rozema on a 5-16 is a 1-3 putout, so the runner's going to advance to second base. Remy goes to second, but now there are 2 outs, and it's up to Yaz. Oh, they won at 1-0 in real life. Okay, cool. Well, the low-scoring game then is pretty representative, I guess. That's a 3-17, and that's going to be a fly to left to end the inning. So 6 shutout innings turned in by Rozema. And we go to the 7th. And this is where fatigue will come in because both pitchers have stamina of 6. So the 7th inning begins their fatigue. So every time they give up something, we'll add 10 to the ballpark rolls. So Lou Whitaker. And again, both teams, if you came in late, this is their benches. These are the benches and bullpens. They both got 4 relief pitchers to go to. Tigers have 2 righties, Foucault and Jack Morris, and then 2 lefties, Crawford and Hiller. Red Sox have Campbell, Drago, Stanley, the righties, and Tom Berkmeyer, the lefties. So those who are available out of the bullpen. They are the active relief pitchers that are available for this game. So you know, you plan ahead who you might want to come in as a relief pitcher. So we'll see. Here's Whitaker. 532 should be an easy play, you would think, but it is Kendall, the first baseman. Kendall, 532 is 3 unassisted, so he will make the play. And Whitaker is retired. That will send up Rusty Staub. Only the first run of the game scored on a ground ball double play by Staub. He can get an RBI for it naturally. 172 is going to be a fly to left. That's out number 2. So 2 down for Jason Thompson. The other run was a walk to Trammell, and then a single from Whitaker put runners in the corners, and Rusty Staub singled him home. So Rusty Staub was at bat when both runs scored, but he only has 1 RBI, not 2. 435 against a right-hander is going to be a 5-3 ground out to end the inning. So Tiant keeps his full endurance because he gave up nothing there. He will keep full endurance in this one. And we are at the 7th inning stretch. So naturally, of course, That means we're going to take me out to the ball game. All right, 7th inning stretch is in the books, and we are ready to continue. Carlton Fisk will lead off for the Red Sox. He has singled and been hit by a pitch. Same situation for Rozema. Everything he gives up will add 10 to the ballpark card, plus 10 for the home team, so it's really going to add 20. 339, and that's going to be a strikeout, the last strikeout number on Fisk's card, but it is a strikeout. And for Rozema, he's not much of a strikeout pitcher either, only his second of the game. Only struck out 57 in 209 innings, so definitely not a strikeout pitcher. Here's Butch Hobson. 303, and that's going to be another strikeout. So strikeout number 3 for Rozema. Like he's getting stronger as the game goes along. Here's a Brohammer. 673 turns to a 683, and a 683 is a single for Brohammer. So a 2-out single for Jack Brohammer. Maybe the Red Sox can get something going here. Dewey Evans is your batter. On deck is Kendall, but he will not bat. George Scott has picked up a bat already and would hit for Kendall if it gets to that. 449 against a right-hander. 449 is a 6-4-3 double play, but there were already 2 outs, so we'll just call it a 6-4 fielder's choice, and that will end the inning. So he gave up 1 ding, so we're going to add 10 going forward on ballpark results for Rozema. Tiant didn't give up anything, so he's still status quo. We go to the 8th, and coming up for the Tigers, it'll be Kemp, May, and Corcoran, a whole bunch of lefties. So Tom Bergmeyer is loosening in the bullpen for the Red Sox. Tom Bergmeyer loosening in the bullpen for the Red Sox in case Tiant gets in trouble. He's going to be facing Kemp. Kemp is 0 for 3 on this game. 311, and that's going to be a strikeout. And that is strikeout number 4 for Louis Tiant. Here's Milt May. Might get a double complete game here. That would be unusual, wouldn't it? 663. 663 says wild pitch, so just ball 1. Nobody's on base. Reboot. 654 this time. And 654 is a 6-3 ground out for out number 2. As Burleson makes the play, and here's Corcoran. That's a 192 for Corcoran, and that's a deep fly to left, but that's going to end the inning. So Tiant still unfazed. He has not given up anything since hitting fatigue, so he's still good to go. Rozema will stay in there, obviously, with a 2-0 lead. And now we're going to get pinch hitting because Fred Kendall will not bat. They will lead off with George Scott. And Scott will stay in the game to play first base going forward. So George Scott will pinch hit here to start the 8th against Rozema. Rozema has one ding against his account, so if we get a ballpark result, we're going to add 10 from Rozema and 10 from the home team to make it a plus 20. But we're on the 350, so 351 is a strikeout. So Scott comes in a pinch hitting role and strikes out. 4th strikeout for Rozema. Back to the top of the order, and Burleson. 457, and he's against a righty. 457 is a 4-3 ground out as Whitaker makes the play. 2 down, and Jerry Remy the batter. 342 is an infield single for Jerry Remy. Now the tying run is at the plate, and it happens to be Jim Rice. Now, what do the Tigers do, rather? I think Sparky Anderson is still in Cincinnati in 70. I believe Ralph Houck is still the manager of the Tigers. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's the case. But the Tigers are going to their bullpen. They don't want any extra things on the ballpark card to affect it. So Rozema is done. He gave them more than they could hopefully ask for. 7 2/3 innings for Rozema. And let's see how many hits he gave up. 1, 2, 3, 4, just 5 hits, no runs. He is responsible for Remy. Let's see, he walked no one. He did hit a batter, but he didn't walk anybody, and he struck out 4. So coming on to pitch for the Tigers is Steve Foucault. I think that's how somebody said it was pronounced, was Foucault, but don't quote me on it again, like I said. He will be the new pitcher to face Rice. Jim Rice is 0 for 3 in this game. 0 for 3 for Rice, but all it takes is one swing of the bat to tie this game. 538, that's trouble because of the blue 8. We're looking at Jason Thompson and his defense. A 538 is a single to right field. Single to right field, so Remy will stop at second because there is no question mark to challenge. So it's just going to be first and second with 2 outs. And Carl Yastrzemski, the batter. Yaz facing Foucault. 209. 209 against a left-hander is a redirect to a 409, which is a walk, and that's going to load the bases. So all of a sudden, Foucault having issues. A single and a walk has loaded the bases for Pudge Fisk. This is the Red Sox, obviously their best opportunity to break through. Like Jim Morrison said, break on through to the other side. Bases are loaded with 2 outs. Oh, I thought you said we had to have a question mark to challenge. That's what I was told earlier. You can only challenge when there's a question mark. I hear it's irrelevant because the walk just loaded the bases anyway, but all right, I got to do some more research on that. Because I was told earlier in the chat you had to have a question mark to challenge. Moot point at this point because, like I said, the base runs are where they are anyway. All right, Captain, I'll keep in mind page 4 and go check it out after the game. So Fisk is up with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Foucault having trouble getting that 3rd out. 398. And he had a whole lot of trouble there. Carlton Fisk just hit a grand salami. Look at that one, folks. 398. And that's right here. Carlton Fisk, Pudge Fisk, a grand salami home run. And the Boston Red Sox, and Tabby is rolling over in her sleep right now. That is a grand salami 1 run is charged to Rozema, the other 3 to Foucault, who's going to be ended up taking the loss most likely if the score remains the way it is, 4-2 now, favor the Red Sox. Carlton Fisk with the grand slam. Look at it again, 3-9-8. So grand salami for Carlton Fisk, and Foucault is definitely frustrated. .105 turns into a .305, which is a strikeout, but too little too late. A 4-score Abraham Lincoln inning for the Red Sox. And they take a 4-2 lead into the 9th. I believe Don Zimmer was the manager of Boston in '78, if I'm not mistaken. And Zimmer will turn to Bob Stanley to close out the ball game. Tiant is available to get the victory. He went 8 innings, gave up 2 runs that were earned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 hits he scattered. Check his walks. He walked 1, 2, got him for 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. So Bob Stanley is going to come on and try to close out the deal. Phil Mankowski, Alan Trammell, and Ron LaFleur are your scheduled hitters, so I don't see anybody on the Detroit bench that is better. I don't think any of these guys are better than the 3 that are coming up, so we're going to stick with who they've got on their normal rotation. Will there be 9th inning magic? I don't know. So let's do the numbers on Foucault. He went 1/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits, 3 runs because of the home run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So he is subject to be saddled with the loss. Tiant would get the win. Stanley would get the save if the score remains 4-2. But we got the top of the 9th, and anything can happen with these dice rolls. As we have seen many, many times, anything can and will happen on these dice rolls. Stanley to Mankowski, 182, and that's a bloop single. So back come the Tigers. A tying run is now at the plate in Alan Trammell. One of the better number 9 hitters around. You're not going to see many number 9 hitters hit 268. So we're not going to pinch hit for Trammell. 674. And that's going to be a single plus. So the runner's going to go to 3rd. Runners are at the corners. Bob Stanley running. Where's Ron Juckett when we need him? Where's Uncle Ron? Watching his man. Watch his man implode. Tiant saying, "Why'd you take me out, dude?" But don't blame me. Blame the other manager. All right, here's LaFleur. Infield back for the double play. They will give up the run to get the 2 outs. 6:04. And that will be a double play. 4-6-3 double play, just what Stanley ordered. The run scores, but it's still a 4-3 lead. Second time that a run is scored on a double play for the Tigers. But it's a 6-4-3 double play. 2 quick outs, and it's all up to Lou Whitaker. Last chance is Whitaker. .161, and that's going to be a single to center field. So the inning and the ball game continues as Whitaker singles. Now you got Rusty Staub coming up, and they're going to pull Stanley. They are not going to mess around. They're going to the left-hander Tom Bergmeyer. So Don Zimmer has seen enough, and he is going to Bergmeyer. Stanley blows the save. I guess he might get credit for a hold if they hold on to win. He's going to go 2/3 of an inning, give up 3 hits and at least 1 run. No walks, no strikeouts. But now Tom Bergmeyer is on, facing Rusty Staub. Now let's check Whitaker's steal chances. The speed's a 3, holds a 4. Milt May with the Fisk catching. His arm is a 5. But his speed would be a boy. It's just I don't think you want to end the game trying to steal second base. You take the bat out of Staub's hands. So we're going to let Staub hit. Ralph Houck has called off a potential steal chance, and they're going to let Staub hit lefty on lefty against Tom Bergmeyer. 126, and he got him. Fly to right ends the ball game. Tigers score 1 run, but it's not enough. And the Red Sox hold on and win it 4-3. 4-3 ball game. Bergmeyer pitches a 1/3 of an inning and gets the save. The win goes to Tiant. The loss goes to Rozema. And we'll get the totals in the ball game for Detroit. 3 runs on 12 hits. I don't believe either team made an error. I don't see where they did. Let's check the left on base. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got the Tigers for 9 left on. For the Red Sox, 4 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. And let's see, left on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got them for only 5 left on. So basically, the player of the game, without question. I don't see how you can argue this one. Carlton Fisk. His grand slam with 2 outs in the 8th inning was the game winner. So it's kind of hard to argue that one. Carlton Pudge Fisk is the winning the MVP of this ball game. Again, next week we will be back in the National League. It'll be the Dodgers against the Phillies from the Vet, and it will be Don Sutton against Larry Christensen. Inside pitch tonight at some point will be from St. Louis. It'll be the Pittsburgh Pirates and John Candelaria against St. Louis and Eric Rasmussen. 1977 inside pitch game of the day from April the 16th. That'll be tonight at some point. And then tomorrow we'll be back with Stratomatic. It'll be Oakland taking on Detroit in that one. But Pudge Fisk is the man, and the Red Sox eke out a 4-3 victory, sending all the people from the Fenway Park crowd home happy. So thank you all for hello Double D. Didn't see you come in. And Dab, didn't see you either. Sorry about that. So yeah, Chuck. Unfortunately, Tabby's upset, and Chuck's upset, and a lot of people upset. The Major is upset as well. Ralph Houck, he's not happy about it. Going to give Foucault a talking to in the back in the bowels of Fenway Park, and he will be maybe scorning him about his performance. But sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other guy. They outperform you. So give credit where credit's due. Carlton Fisk, 20 home runs on the season in 1978. And I think someone on there put they had 1 grand slam for the whole season. I'm sorry, only had 1 home run on his card. Foucault did. Is that what it is? He's got some deep flies on his card. Oh, he only allowed 1 home run in the whole season. And there you just saw it right there. So that's the way the ball bounces, or the dice roll, or what do you want to call it. So season ticket, Another NBC game of the week is in the books. Like I said, next week we're back to the National League where I prefer, where we have pitchers hitting. And we'll be on the AstroTurf of Veterans Stadium as Don Sutton and the Dodgers take on Larry Christensen and the Phillies. But if you're so inclined tonight, inside pitch, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. And if you think inside pitch is a tough game to learn, I would highly suggest going to RJL Network's channel, watching his slow playthroughs. He's got several of them. He does it every time before a new season starts. He does a slow playthrough. And to me, that's the best way to learn it. Watch that slow playthrough. Covers everything. And if the situation doesn't come up in the game itself, he'll go back and say, okay, we didn't have this situation, but here's how you do it. So, I mean, I think that's the best way to learn myself is by watching it. Maybe you can have the rule book in front of you while you're doing it, but to me, that's the best way to do it. And absolutely, the very best way to do it is if you have the season cards of the video he's doing, you can set everything up just as he's doing and just play it along with those dice rolls, and you can see exactly what charts he's checking and why he's checking it and so forth. So I definitely would lean towards that asset if you're looking to get better at inside pitch. Season ticket, I just got to play it more. That's all there is to that. I only play it one day a week on Saturdays. So to get better at it, I probably have to, play it more than that. Maybe once I retire, then I'll have more time to play some offline games and try to get better at it. Hello, Bulldog. Good to see you. All right. So anyway, that's going to do it from here. We'll be in the month of June next Saturday for the NBC game of the week. It'll be a June 3rd game. I've already got the score sheet printed out because these are I print them two-sided. So we take the score sheet from today's game. As you can see, the numbers there and the score sheet there, and the grand slam home run from Carlton Fisk. And we flip it over and we get the Dodgers and the Phillies, Don Sutton and Larry Christensen. That'll be June 3rd, next Saturday on the NBC game of the week on Season Ticket Baseball. So that's going to do it from here. I hope you, yes, Dab, this coming up this Friday, June 6th, D-Day, is my last work day. I will be taking at least the summer off. If I don't have if not full-blown retirement, I will, well, put it this way. It's full-blown retirement of full-time work. I will probably get a part-time job just to give me something to do and make a few extra dollars here and there. I'll probably get some sort of, a part-time job somewhere just to give me something to do and, some purpose and whatever. I don't want to just be a vegetable and just sit around, do nothing and watch TV or whatever. But that will be more towards Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I'm taking the whole summer off. I got a lot of yard work to catch up on that's way, way overdue to be done. A lot of cleanup because I live in a heavily wooded area. There's a lot of pine trees. There's a lot of pine cones. There's a lot of branches. I got some work to do, put it that way. And then also some spring cleaning in the house to do. It's probably a lot of things that old clothes and whatnot that we just need to throw out. Old things we're not using anymore, and just kind of declutter some things. So I will, and of course, Mrs. Demos is teaching me the art of cooking so that I can have dinner ready when she gets home from work. So maybe I'm doing the Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom thing. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. So let's go do it from here. Hope you enjoyed this presentation of Season Ticket Baseball, NBC Game of the Week style. If you are able to, we invite you to tune in roughly about 7:30 or 8 o'clock tonight for probably looking at about 7:30 because it's a weekend, probably looking at around 7 or 7:30 for the inside pitch game, Pittsburgh, St. Louis 1977 from Busch Stadium. If you're looking for Stratomatic, that will be tomorrow. It'll be from Detroit, Oakland at Detroit from Tiger Stadium. Until next time, enjoy playing whatever game you choose to play, however you choose to play it, and I will see you all down the road.